In this video, I'm going to be taking a tour of my local e-waste place. That's right, where e-waste Wednesday happens every Wednesday. So many of you have asked for this video, I thought I would go ahead and just take a tour the next time I was here. So let's hop on over to e-waste and see what's inside. It's coming up right now on the Retro Hack Shack After Hours. All right, so I'm just about to head over to e-waste. This e-waste place, along with others that I frequent, is usually in an industrial area of town. You can see this place. There's the local waste management company is here. They have offices here, and there's always garbage trucks going in and out, so it's convenient for that. There's also a lot of auto places, tire places, warehouses for one thing or another. So yeah, this place is just full. Here's somebody bringing their RV tow behind thing in for a repair. So yeah, there's just a lot of that stuff around here. Pretty typical for where you find these e-waste places. All right, so I've crossed the street now and heading into e-waste, and you'll notice as we go in here, there's not a whole lot of room for cars. This particular facility has about 3 spaces open at a time for cars to pull in and drop stuff off. So you do have to be a little bit careful here because there are a lot of cars coming in and out. And you can see it kind of looks like an industrial place, kind of a little bit like a dump. You can see some refrigerators back there, dumpsters, pallets, things like that. They also go out on the road and pull trash off the road as a service for the county, so they get a ton of stuff like that. And then this is kind of the entrance here, and this is where people line up at a very specific time to take a look. They're not allowed to go in and buy anything until a very specific time on Wednesday. And now everybody's waiting to be let in, and it's very nice because I've got to know all of these folks over the past few years. Everyone's very cordial. Hey, how's it going? You know, we tell stories about our families and stuff. So really nice group of folks that come here on Wednesday. Now, safety is a big concern, and that's probably why a lot of e-waste places don't allow people to come in and don't want to bother setting up a shopping experience for them because of safety concerns. So usually Richard, in just a moment, you'll hear him, usually gives a safety speech every time before the sale opens, even though we've all heard it a million times, just in case there's somebody new and just to keep people out of trouble.
I want to be your friend. I love you, all right, listen, this situation. Safety, utmost important. Period. You got a problem with something, or you do something that's unsafe, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, or I'm going to have to roll you out of here. All right? That means you got hurt. You can't have no bleeding on the yard, in the warehouse, so I'll roll you down to your car. Please be courteous to each other. We always get stuff. We do this because we want to make your life better, easier, and more fun. When you take this stuff, I don't care what you do with it when you go out the gate. But when you're inside here, treat everybody with respect. Be like people matter to you, because you need each other. Don't go in my bins. If you go over the other side or anywhere else in the yard, make sure somebody knows. Anybody got any questions? Okay, last but not least, I've got a bunch of tube stuff. Tim, I know you might be interested. You're interested. You're interested. Dave here, you lost out. I'm going to take you on the other side in a few minutes so you can go through that stuff. I'm telling you right now, I want 25 for every amp you take, no matter what the condition is. If you want it, it costs you $25. If you're interested in tube amp, I got some 1950 stuff that's going to make your life better.
Wow.
All right? Everybody ready?
Ready.
Enjoy yourself.
Okay.
So yeah, someone had dropped off a truckload of old tube radios, amplifiers, and test equipment, and I happened to pick up this one, which is a tube tester, and nice compact portable unit. I can't remember exactly what year this is. It didn't look so good on the outside, but the inside was in good shape and it had the manuals. So this will come in handy if I ever need to test some of those old radio tubes. Like most e-waste place, this one is super disorganized. There is stuff literally everywhere. There's a little bit of method to the madness, but not so much that you can't look twice in the same place and see something different every time you come. This area over here is the part that's restricted. They tear things apart over here and sort them into pieces, and then they ship those big pallets out to be recycled at another facility. This is also the place that you can't go without asking Richard for permission. For now, let's work our way back through the main section and just see what we can find. As you can see, there's a couple of scooters there on the floor. Get a lot of scooters and hoverboards, a lot of old radio equipment. So if you're into old amplifiers or tuners, here's an 8-track player. They get a lot of this stuff. A lot of it's in not so great condition, but like me, if you know how to fix it, you know, it's one man's trash is another man's treasure. A lot of computers back here as well, which Joe fixes up. We'll see Joe in just a minute, but this stuff comes in and he tests it out, fixes it up, and puts it out for sale. A lot of these computers are a little bit more modern than I like to work on, and they're a bit overpriced. And what I find is typically people aren't willing to pay too much for computers that are 5 to 10 years old at this point. But Joe does a great job fixing them up and getting them out here, and he's definitely willing to bargain with you if there is something that you do want to take a look at. They also get in a lot of speakers and old game systems, old Xboxes and PlayStations and things like that. There's a couple of Xboxes up there, more radio equipment, more speakers. Again, this stuff is sort of sorted out a little bit, but not really. I actually found a nice amplifier here to replace my old one, and that's currently sitting in my living room. There's a karaoke machine that looks kind of cool. Here's an old tuner amplifier setup. Heading into the back, here's Joe with his lair here working on all this old computer stuff, and his dogs, one of which at least is in the seat right now, and they're pretty cute. They bark a couple times, as most little dogs do, but then they're pretty nice. They get to know everybody and say hi to everybody, but mostly they just sit back there on Joe's chair and hang out a little bit and kind of watch what's going on. Now at this point you might be wondering, well, where do I find all of my old computer stuff that I show on eWaste Wednesday? Well, a lot of it comes from the other side of the parking lot here next to the dumpsters. There's a lot of sorting that goes on over here, like batteries that need to get sorted out, connectors, things like that. But a lot of times there's also old computers sitting over here, or cards, and a lot of the computers also come from inside that restricted area, which I'll show you more of in just a minute. Here we go. Looks like a PCI card that is a network card. So just sitting here in one of these bins, not sorted out very well, but there it is. Now I'm going to save some more things from eWaste in just a minute, but first I want to thank the sponsor of this episode, PCBWay. PCBWay offers low-cost, high-quality PCB manufacturing and a whole lot more. One of my favorite features on PCBWay's website is their project page, where the community can upload projects. You can browse these and order these particular parts so that you can use them yourself. Or you can create your own project by uploading your design and receive 10% back when someone else orders your particular project. So check out PCBWay for all your PCB manufacturing needs, and I thank them for their support of the Retro Hack Shack. Now on eWaste Wednesday, I've mentioned that they like to cut the cables off of things, and you can see here a big pile of connectors where they've cut the cables off to strip the copper out, because that's one of the more valuable things they get here at eWaste. There's also some sort of a switcher device in here, not really sure what that is, but sometimes I'll come across a rare connector in there and I really wish they wouldn't have cut the cables off of it. Oh, here's some sort of a Walkman. It looks like a dictation device, so I don't know if that works, but I might throw that in my pile just to check out. Other than the semi-sorted containers over here, there's also the dumpsters themselves. You can see tons of stuff in here. There's a Wii board, there's an old boombox with a CD player on top, there's a couple old computers down in the bottom there. I can see some circuit boards and an amplifier back in there. Here's a Polaroid camera just sitting on top. Probably still works. Somebody just needs to take this and buy the film for it. So I always take a look in the actual dumpsters to see what I can find there as well. So when I say save from the dumpster or save from scrap, I really literally mean it, because that is what happens. In this container, they had sorted out some fans and some floppy drives, or maybe this was somebody's old stash of stuff that they dropped off. But yeah, floppy drives here, old fans. A lot of times I've tested these fans and they do actually work. Not always, but sometimes. So it always pays to kind of dig through and see what you can find. One of my favorite containers is this big pallet-sized white container where they throw loose circuit boards, and a lot of times I'll find a lot of really cool stuff in here, like right here, Sound Blaster 32, just sitting here on top of the pile. Unfortunately, this one, someone had just broken this one off and left the connector inside the computer. So there's no way. I guess you could maybe try to replace the connector on that. I don't know, take a lot of time. Looking a little bit deeper in here, here's a internal SCSI card, a PCI SCSI card, so that's pretty cool. Here's another Sound Blaster just sitting down under here. This is an X-Fi Extreme Music Sound Blaster. It looks like it's in really good shape. But what I'm really interested in is this right here. So this totally would have gone to scrap. This is a Macintosh 512K logic board just sitting here in this bin. And I actually need one of these for a repair that I'm working on right now. So I'll go through the rest of these cards later, but that's just a sample of what I can find out here by the dumpster. Just a few feet away from there, I happened to spot this monitor with this security cable on it, and I wasn't too interested at first, but then when I moved this other Belkin thing off of it, look at this. This is actually an RGB monitor, and it actually switches between RGB and CVBS, so kind of like a 1702 or something. And I was thinking about maybe taking this and trying to fix it up, but when I went around front, it was pretty obvious that this thing had seen some really bad damage and probably wouldn't be worth actually picking up and fixing. A lot of times people will drop stuff off as we're there for the sale. And in this case, look what somebody dropped off. It's a bunch of Xboxes and original PlayStation 1s and other things. I kind of rooted through here a bit to find stuff that was a little bit more vintage, like this alarm clock radio from GE. But yeah, underneath here was a bunch of game consoles and controllers and things like that. So I did pick a few of these out, but I let some of the other people that come to the sale get these because they kind of specialize in old game systems. I did pick up this Ending Man S500 game system, but yeah, it ended up being not very great, so I actually ended up giving it to a friend instead. Okay, let's move into the restrictive space now, and for the computers that do make it inside here, they end up taking these apart and separating them out into individual components. This is the CD-ROM and floppy drive pallet here with this big cardboard container on it, and you can see there's a 5 1/4 inch drive there and a lot of CD-ROMs. And over here, there are some motherboards, all kinds of interesting motherboards here. Most of them are newer, but I can always tell by the ISA slots if I'm going to be interested in them or not. There's also another bin here full of cards, anything from ISA cards all the way up through modern cards. And so I have to use this grabber to kind of move them around and look underneath here and see if I can find any of the older ones that I might be interested in doing a video on the channel. So for today, here's what I was able to pull out of this section. In addition to those cards I showed earlier, found a zip drive, quite a few floppy drives that I sell on my eBay store, got that 5 1/4 inch drive, and some really interesting motherboards here. There's a couple of, looks like maybe 486 or Pentium class boards. I'm going to be taking a closer look at these later when I get them back to the Retro Hack Shack. I also was able to find this Sony Trinitron TV with these cool speakers on the side. It's got composite inputs on the back. So when I get back to the Retro Hack Shack, we'll take a look and see if it works a little later on in this video. All in all, I ended up paying a grand total of $25 for all of these things. I got them loaded up in the car with a little bit of protection because you never know if there's going to be some black grease on the bottom of that TV. But now it's time to close the door and head back and see if this TV actually works. All right, and here we are back at the Retro Hack Shack. This is the last step in my e-waste trip, is I come back here and I test things out that I find and usually do an e-waste Wednesday video. So obviously this part is not new to those of you who watch my channel. E-waste Wednesday videos have become one of the most liked videos actually on my channel. And so now those are living over here on the second channel. So I have a dedicated place to put those. And yeah, let's just take a look at this Sony Trinitron TV that I found. It actually looks really nice now that I have it back under some lights. I mean, the tube looks fantastic. You can see the reflection. It's even very clean. product, but here it is, the Sony Trinitron. So let's just take a quick look at the TV. First and foremost, we have the darker, I believe this is the darker phosphor or the coating, the darker coating they put on this. It definitely looks a little bit darker than some of my other CRTs, but that just could be the formulation or something. It may not be the really dark one like I have on my Pink Beauty that I've shown on the channel before. But down here, of course, we've got the Sony logo. We've got a couple of buttons. There's a timer block button. There's a TV video button. There's volume, channel, and then there's indications here for video, sleep, timer, and stereo. So that's pretty nice. And then, of course, we have the power button, which is just a momentary button. Over here, there is a little panel though, and this door will have to be fixed a little bit because it's coming loose. And on the inside are all the controls that you would expect for brightness, contrast, etc. But there's also some other interesting buttons down here. There's one for external audio. There's one for auto stereo. I'm not sure why you would ever have that off. I guess if you wanted to force it to go into mono mode. There's one for MTS. There's a picture button down here. There's an erase and an add. And there's also a cable knob. So I'm guessing that is for tuning in stations automatically. So this probably has some sort of automated tuner that was probably becoming popular back when this set was made. And then looking at the side here, we've got the handles that are recessed into the set, which was, I think, quite common. My other one that came out in the late 80s also had these reset handles, which are great. They make it really easy to carry. And then there's also speakers built on both sides. So I can't wait to see what this thing sounds like. Instead of having a little speaker up front or a little speaker on the side, it has stereo speakers, at least I assume they are, obviously from the controls, one on each side of the set. So this thing should sound great. We'll find out if we can get it working. And by the way, sorry for the mess in the background. If you can see it, I've got my 512 repair project going on. And that board that I find did not work, by the way. It has some issues, right, that need to be resolved. Maybe some bad memory or something like that. Maybe that's why someone threw it out. So I'm working through those right now to see if I can get that logic board working. Anyway, back here, there's not very much to show really, except for there is a manufacture date here, which says March 1990. There we go. I said late 80s. I think that's close enough. And then down on the bottom here, we have, of course, the antenna input or cable input here, the RF input. And there's also composite input back here. So we've got video, we've got left and right audio, and interestingly enough, an audio out. So it seems like they were really kind of focusing on the stereo capabilities of television at this time. Now, I should mention also that this came with the original antenna, which is very hard to find when I pick these up in eWaste. Maybe you can find them on, if they were sold on eBay from an original owner or something. But these antennas often get either taken off, broken off, very hard to find. But this one comes with the original. I'll probably try to take this out of the little holder here so that I can use it with different sets and to make sure that it doesn't break off if I put this thing in storage, if I end up keeping it. But yeah, it's got the antenna and it's got the little connector here to go in the back here so that you can tune in your favorite station. So I'm really glad to see that that was included with this set. All right, so I've got this thing plugged in. It's ready to rock and roll. Let's turn it on. Hopefully we'll see that familiar snow of a TV frequency that does not have any signal on it. Oh, there we go. I heard the degaussor go. I'm hearing static and hey, there we go. Static 6 main. And it looks like the buttons are working. 7, 8. We can go down to 3, which is what we're going to need in a minute to test this thing with. Volume works. TV video. Now that video goes to gray. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if you saw that, the display. That's kind of a cool feature. The display kind of scrolls or rolls up or scrolls up when it goes off. Watch the video. Whoop, there it goes. That's kind of cool. And then we've got this timer block. I don't know what that is, but I guess you could set a timer or something to a sleep timer and maybe you block stations out from your kids or something. I don't know. We don't want them going to HBO or Skinemax or something. Anyway, this is looking really, really good. Nice, clear, gray picture. I know it's rolling for you in the video, but it's not rolling for me in person. My eyes can't pick that up. So to me, this is a nice, clear, flat, gray screen. Edge to edge, looks really good. let me go get something that can really put this thing to the test that will be somewhat period for this particular TV. Well, I've got this set all cleaned up. There was some dust, little dust and stuff on top from being stored or whatever. That's all cleaned up. You know it's clean, at least in my experience, when you can clean the whole thing with one paper towel. And that's what I was able to do with this one. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
That's Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. Starts quicker, so you finish quicker.
Apparently, at least in this case. So yeah, I went ahead and hooked this up to a Sega Genesis, which came out, I think, like in 89 or 90 or something like that. So it would definitely be period appropriate for this particular set. And I remember playing tons and tons of Sega Genesis. When I was in college, we would go over to a friend's room who had a Sega Genesis, and we would play tons of hockey. We would play tons of Road Rash against each other because that was a great game for two-player. And of course, we played lots of Sonic the Hedgehog and those staples as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and turn this thing on and see what it looks like. Here we go. We're on channel 3. And there we go. This is a multi-cart system. I can tell you right away, looking at the monitor and looking at this in real life, that because of the way that the light hits the lens on the camera, this is looking a little washed out. It is not washed out at all. It's as sharp as the skin on my hand here in real life. The colors are much more vibrant, but just because of the way that the light coming out of the tube interacts with the camera, it's looking a little washed out to me. But when I look at it in real life, it looks fan-flippin-tastic. Really good. So let's just go ahead and get to something that should be familiar to everybody. Sonic the Hedgehog. Here we go. Ooh, yeah, we need to turn up the volume though. Let's hear these speakers. Yeah, there we go. Nice. In fact, that may be a little too loud. I don't want to blow you out of the water. Okay, let's go ahead and start it up. I forgot to hit start, so now we got to go back through, of course. There we go. Let's start it. Here we go. Yeah, looking good. Whoops. Gotta get that. There's a secret here, right? Yeah, a little jumpy. Woo! Oh man, this is looking so good. There's another secret here somewhere. There it is. It's amazing how you can remember these. I mean, from playing back in the day, it's just crazy. Muscle memory and all that stuff just comes back. I don't know, what's that going to be for like kids of this generation? They had so much video and phone games and stuff like that, way more than we did back in this day. And are they still going to be able to have muscle memory from all the various games they played on the phone and whatnot? But anyway, as you can see, hopefully as you can see, this is looking really, really nice. No problems whatsoever. I'm just flying through this to get to the end of the level here. Hopefully in under a minute. Oop, there we go. So yep, there we go. 54 seconds, Sonic level 1. Didn't get all the stuff, of course, but just want to try out this set. This is looking absolutely fantastic. This would be a collector's item, I think, for anybody looking for a nice CRT to play games like this on. It just works perfectly, and I'm so happy that I was able to get it at eWaste. All right, well, special stage this time because it was a special episode. Hopefully you liked my journey to eWaste and seeing this wonderful Sony Trinitron set, which looks fantastic. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I don't ask for that very often, but liking the videos actually really helps. So if you're one of those people that were asking for a tour of eWaste and to see what everything looked like, well, now you've got it. Go ahead and give the videos a thumbs up for me. That would really be great. Or join my patrons that support me over on my Patreon page. Now, if you're looking for more eWaste Wednesday videos, I can oblige. There are a ton of them on my channel. I'll put a link to a playlist up here in the corner that you can click on and see all my eWaste videos that have come out in the last, year or so since this channel's been active, since my second channel's been active, and there's more of them over on my main channel, and I'll put a link to that down in this corner. So check out one of those playlists, and we'll see you in the next video next. Thanks for watching. Bye.
End of line.